Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Career Success 101. So at Oxnard College's first year experience program, you know that we are here to help you succeed, not just academically, but giving you all those tools and access to opportunities that will help you succeed even more, right? So today's topic is our Career Success 101. Who was intrigued by the idea of how do I write my resume? How do I ace that interview? How do I build a LinkedIn profile? How do I create this network of mentors who could be future professors, potential employers, potential, colleagues, folks who may know folks that can get you that job opportunity later on down the road, or that project that's gonna open more doors for you in the future, right? So that's what we're looking at today. So I want to give you a bit of a roadmap for what we're gonna do, and we're gonna go at a quick pace because seeing that we have about a little over an hour. If you have any questions, just write it down, save it for the end, and then we'll go from there, okay? So we're first gonna take a look at resume building. What are the opportunities that really count from an employer standpoint, from a university admission standpoint, like what opportunities are out there. And then we're going to talk about challenges. And that's when we're going to have a candid conversation on what are the barriers that we're seeing for us personally, right? Interviewing, dress code, interview skills, what's expected at the workplace. And then we're going to go into networking. What are meet and greets? How do we create a LinkedIn profile? And then finally, building your brand. How do you utilize social media? How do you leverage yourself so that you are more visible to the people who you need to be visible to, right? Okay, so Sylvia Earle. Gabby, if you wouldn't mind joining me up here and giving a bit of a background.
I was speaking in lunch. I haven't eaten yet, so I was like, stuff in my face, sorry.
So we were looking at, what successful people have done in order to open that first door, right? In order to be able to knock on that first door of opportunity. And so Gabby shared about Sylvia Earle.
Yeah, she's an ocean explorer. And, how old did you say she is? She's in her
80,
80s now?
almost 81.
So I remember going to an event where she spoke, and she said that she wanted to just get her foot in the door in the science field. She was fascinated with the ocean. She really just wanted to be part of whatever was going on. So she literally went from lab to lab that she thought really liked this person's research. She investigated, and she said, "I will do anything." This was as an undergrad. "I will wash your glassware for free." And she started doing that, and they saw that she was just a really great worker. She was hardworking. She would come in when she said she would, and they started hiring her as an undergrad, giving her money, and then just went from there. So just kind of being as bold as that and not being shy, and just going, "I want to be part of this." I think that not many people do that nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Just in person.
Exactly. And I think seizing that type of opportunity where you're going in and saying, hey, if there's a paid opportunity, obviously that's what we would prefer. But if it's what's going to get your foot in the door, doing volunteer opportunities like that so that they can see your work ethic, so that they can see what kind of teammate you are and what value you're going to add to their group, right? And so now, she's one of the most notable undersea explorers, logging 6,000 hours underwater. In 1979, she was the first woman, and since then nobody's done this, she walked untethered on the ocean floor. So, and she's gone on to become a notable speaker and an advocate for the ocean.
She's wonderful. She writes really great books too.
Thank you for pointing her out and sharing how she started her journey. Okay. All right, resume building. We keep talking about work study, right? Noted on your FAFSA forms that you would be interested in work study programs. As an opportunity, let's take a look at this because a lot of folks in the room now have job opportunities outside the campus, right? It could be in retail, it could be, I think primarily retail is where folks have gone to find jobs. But keep in mind, work-study programs, they'll work around your class schedule. And companies outside the campus are going to tell you, hey, be here from 11 to 8, and work your class schedule around that. And the difficulty with that is you are only prolonging your time to get your AA or to get your transfer credits so that you could go on to the university. And work-study pay is comparable, right? So you have the work flexibility and you have the pay. And we actually have, I'm going to ask you impromptu, you're doing a work-study program. Do they work around your class schedule? And when you are not so busy here at the STEM Center, are you able to study? Getting paid to study, right? So it's giving you that leg up to get that higher GPA, right? To be able to succeed more in your classes, right? Because I know all of you work very, very hard. So who here would be interested in a work-study program? Okay, almost all of you. Well, you're technically, right? Is it technically a work-study program?
Yeah.
So Rafa is now in the MESA program, and we have helped him today, like 5 of us, right? Do the work.
I think sometimes what happens as well, and this was my experience, is that you're looking at hourly wage, and sometimes when you go into the retail environment, they may pay you more in the beginning than if you go into a work-study environment. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's tempting to go where the money is. But I want to challenge all of you, because I've done this, and it's tough. I know it's really hard to go for that minimum wage when you know your friend is working somewhere at Macy's or wherever it is, and they're making so much more money, and then they get promoted, and you're going, oh no, what am I doing? But being involved in an environment where you're in academia or in STEM type things, whatever your goals are, I mean, your goals may change. Maybe next year you're going, I don't want anything to do with STEM. Please, I don't want it. That's fine. But wherever it leads you, wherever your passions lead you, I encourage you to find people that you admire, or you're going, I kind of want to be like that. I want to do what they're doing. Approach them and find opportunities, whether it's starting volunteer. If they really like you, they will find money for you. Most of my academic life, which has been about a decade, has been volunteering with for someone that I really liked. There was a biology professor at Oxnard College campus. I approached her because I really liked her. She was really personable, and she seemed to know what I wanted to know and be able to explain things really well. And it was really fun. So I volunteered for her. And then she found some funding, some grants, and said, hey, why don't you work for me part-time? Because she already knew me. I would do my homework in front of her office. There was like a little desk. Now it's by Shannon Newby and Michael Nicholson's office. There's a little desk, and I would just stay there whenever in between classes. Making that extra effort. I think it's worth it. And it may not pay off immediately. Those experiences, I still put them on my resume. And I will not put on my resume that I was a nanny for 6 years, because I'm trying to find work in the science field. So that those 6 years of being a nanny is just not on there. I can't use it. They don't care. They want to know, what have you done in science, technology, engineering, math, anything that has to do with what you want to do. Keep that in mind when you're.
So any volunteer opportunities, any internships? And Gabby, could you talk about the scholarships and the REU as well?
Yeah, so have you guys been bombarded by me with scholarship opportunities? I hope you have. You've been reading your emails. I try to put all the information in the subject line now because I don't hear back from students, so I'm going, I don't know if they got it, but I'm just going to send it. Send all the information in the subject line. Maybe they'll read it. So applying to as many scholarships as you can. There have been some studies done that women tend to only apply for things that they may qualify for about less than half of what is listed as you qualify for, and men just go for it. Even if they only have 50% qualifications, they just go for it. They go, I'm just going to apply. I'll learn it on the job. you know, even for scholarships or internships. So I encourage you just looking at scholarship opportunities. And have any of you applied for the OC Foundation scholarships? Okay.
How many is that?
Any?
1, 2,
You guys didn't make it? Okay. So next year, you can still contact me. I'll keep my email if there's no other mentor, and I'll help you, okay? Because I sat down with a couple of you, with a few of you, and it's really useful because there are opportunities there that can give you some funding, even just $500. You know, that can help. The books for science and math are so expensive. And I don't know if they really stock them in the library, for instance. So sometimes it's difficult to pay for those high-paying books. I remember organic chemistry, the book was like $300 when I took it. It's insane. So what about the REU?
Well,
Did you
could
guys-
we backtrack
Oh,
to
sorry.
scholarships?
Yeah,
How
sure.
good does that look on a resume if you're a scholar?
If you get scholarships, I guarantee you will get more. When I've gotten a scholarship, I have had a question on another scholarship saying, have you ever received any funding, any scholarships or internships? And I could cross yes and then say what it was. The reason that it looks really good to have other scholarships is that they know what it takes to go through the process of applying and then actually getting something. And so they know that you're willing to sit down and put some time aside on your schedule and really focus on writing an essay, a personal statement, and getting your educational plan together. Spending that time, that footwork, they know that, they understand that, the agencies that give the scholarships or the private donors. So it pays off in the long run just to apply. And the other thing is, you may apply for 20 scholarships and you may get one. But just applying and applying and applying is just going to get you more and more. I have, my old advisor told me that for every 100 grant proposals that he writes for money for his lab, he only gets one for every 100. And so that's a very small percentage, but that one he gets will be for $2 million.
But I think for me, because I'm coming from a business background, right? From a business perspective, if I'm hiring somebody, like a student, and I know that they have worked on campus in the field that is related to the open opportunity, and I know that they're a scholar, instant credibility, I would want to speak and interview that person, right? And then going to the REUs, we talked about that during Discovery Week, how they're available. Gabby sent out one for this summer over at CSUCI. There are other REU opportunities. And again, it is investing the time to prepare your application so that you can meet these deadlines and so that you can give the folks who are writing the recommendation letters ample time so that they're not rushing through and just putting something together, you know? You want them to be able to write a meaningful recommendation letter for you. So I know that that's coming up, right? Or has the deadline passed? Okay. But I mean, keep in mind, you're in your first, first year.
Yeah.
So keep this in mind for next year. You know, if you have, because there are so many REU opportunities. So these, if you look at them, internships, which, you know, basically it could be through school, it could be, on your own, it could be an unpaid internship, it could be a paid internship, but look at those opportunities and consider them as building blocks for your resume, okay? Like, what are all the things that are going to bolster it so that you as a job candidate, you as a candidate to be admitted to a university will have what they are looking for. You have to give people what they're looking for, right? So, awards, I mean, we've recognized some of you for the hard work that you've done. So Crystal, Rafa, and Mai actually too. We have acknowledged them as having been really engaged in the process, and they've utilized the resources that have been introduced by FYE, or, like we've said, oh, hey, this student is interested, let's see how we can make a connection. They've done that, and we want that for all of you. We want you to be able to access and go through as many open doors as there are available, right? And we have these workshops for a reason, because, you know, the whole point is to not just help you increase your GPA, it's to help build your resume, because that is what will walk with you throughout your entire life, right? So challenges, and this is the part where we're going to ask Bob to please cut recording for now, because this is the portion where we're going to have a candid conversation on some of the challenges that you have been facing, and this is a truthful moment. So let's have that.
Oh,
What? Oh, yeah, what is it? CD. Yeah, just kind of like, we only have 2 copies, so. So mine's more a resume, right? Like, you can find samples online. These are just samples of ours. So it has summary, you know, like the core areas that you've done. You can see the dates, the title, the responsibilities. And then on the last page, typically, you know, like folks have 1-page resumes, right? And then any awards, recognitions, presentations, any groups that you volunteered for. You know, Gabby's resume will have the publications that she's done, right? And the references on there. So, you know, like these are just samples, but there are many, many ways that you could write it up. As students, you know, once you start building your resume, you can ask us for help, you know, but definitely start one now, because you're only going to need it. The older you get, the more you're going to need it. For you guys, for admissions, for job opportunities in your fields of study, they're also going to ask for GPA. So the things that you will never get away from is your GPA and your resume, right? That's your history. You will always have to disclose that. So we're going to need to do everything that we can to make it as strong as possible, to make sure that we're on the top tier of candidates that we bring in, either for an interview or to transfer, right?
I keep my GPA away because I didn't do 12 undergrad. So I don't like that I had at UC. So at Oxnard College I had a 3.7, and then I transferred to UCSB and I had 2.7. And so I didn't really want to disclose that because a lot of the programs that have 3.5 or higher. And so
Scholarships.
I had to do it for the application, obviously, because I had to submit my official transcripts. And then I got admitted to San Jose State or Los Angeles Marine Labs. And then my master's GPA is a 3.85 or something. So it's higher, but basically it depends on where you're going to apply to. Sometimes they do ask for it.
So if a law firm, for example, is asking a senior partner, right, to transition from one law firm to another, sometimes they will still ask, what was your GPA in law school? What school did you go to, and what was your GPA in law school? And these could be folks who are in their 60s, right? So keep that in mind as you take your classes. Be strategic about it and how you could bolster your grades. Okay? All right. So career search. Who has gone on, we talk about work study, who's gone on monster.com and career builders and indeed.com and idealist.com and Glassdoor, right? Right, there are opportunities there that you could apply for. And we'll send this out. The URLs are actually embedded in there, so you guys can just click on it, okay? But what I have found, the most effective thing to get your foot in the door for job opportunities is your network, your professors, you know, the folks that you may meet at an event who you are impressed by, and you want to work with them. Or you may know somebody who knows that person you want to work with. It's not just what you know, it's who you know, right? And then when you get in front of them, it's how to say it, right? Always figure out that everything is interconnected. It's one big interconnected.
Yeah, I think that most of my jobs I've gotten because of who I knew.
Same with me.
Someone else said, oh, I know this person. You should go talk to so-and-so. And I think think that word of mouth, just kind of.
And I've also worked with recruiters. So Abigail Abbott, I don't know if they're still around, but I went to them and they found me a cool opportunity. And then when, you know, when the economy tanked and there were layoffs, I went to another recruitment firm and they said, well, why don't you just work with us? So I ended up working with them. But then, you know, it's still building that network and I'm still connected with them so that if I ever need anything, I could go to them and they can help me or people that I know, right?
Yeah.
So the value of a good network is critical, okay? And we're gonna talk about that some more, the pieces of paper that I gave you, we're gonna do some more of that. Okay, once you submit your resumes and they say, come on in for, you know, an interview, right? You have to do your research. Let's take a look. Who knows the different dress codes? Like are you already aware of different dress codes, like business attire, right, professional attire? It just kind of goes from business formal, business casual, smart casual, and casual, okay? Notice that for ladies wearing dresses or skirts, they're always below the knee, right? And
Just check.
you know,
I'm not going to watch my
right. So apparently, I have a friend whose daughter is in, I think, junior high, and she was told that the length of her skirt cannot be higher than the tip of her finger, right? And I'm looking at it going, but that's really high, you know? It's so the measure in old school, right? The old school measure. Is that $100?
I'm sorry.
Is basically like it's not this, right? It's not this height, but basically this from above your knee. So it's pretty low, right? So that's the formal, acceptable length of skirt, right? In traditional settings. So you have to do your research when it comes to work settings. If they have, you know, like typically startup tech companies, they're pretty casual, but you still want to go in for your interview more dressed up than you are. It's always better to be overdressed than it is to feel uneasy and underdressed, right? If you see here, like nobody is wearing sleeveless tops. Usually, you know, like I have a sleeveless dress on right now, but I have a jacket, right? Usually you wear cap sleeves, you know, some sort of sleeve to have it be business casual, right? Some office settings, if you're in an office setting, will have that requirement that you have a sleeve or you have a, you know, a jacket or a cardigan or whatever, okay? On this end, it depends on, you know, the work setting. But if you're going in for an interview, always dress up. But dress this way, right? As close to this as you can.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So for men, can I say something about like young men who I see walking around? Sometimes their pants are so low. I don't understand. You know, like the public should not be privy to underoos, right? Like, right. So, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, and again, this, you know, business formal, business casual. This is actually how I would say business casual. You know, without a coat, right? And then smart casual and casual. Typically, I would try to stay away from denim jeans or denim, you know, like jackets, because it does give it that more casual feel. So if you want to be more dressed up, like, don't wear denim, okay? Even dark denim. So some companies will require you to wear, like, it's okay to have casual Fridays. People take that literally, and so I've seen. Like one of the things that I saw here, we're giving an award. This was, you know, for something else. We're giving an award, and the representative from a senator's office was here to also recognize this team of students. And one of the students who we were so impressed by during the competition came in and was wearing pajamas. Like pajama bottoms, not the top, but regardless, like again, underoos not for public consumption, pajamas not to be worn outside, right?
You said they're really cozy.
Yes, at home, thanks. All right, interview tips. Be prepared to do your research about the company, the person that you're going to be speaking with. Look at their website, look at their organizational chart. What is their mission statement? You know, what different types of teams do they have? Because when you're doing your research online, you know, you need to be picking up those keywords, even plugging it into your resume, but picking up those keywords from their website and using that when you're talking about yourself and your skill set and how you're describing yourself so that they are linking it, right? It's kind of a subconscious strategy of you are basically, you know, telling them that this is how you're matching their company's core values, right? All right. Dress code, we talked about that. Body language. So we talked about, remember Amy Petty, right? Fake it until you become it. Power pose, power stance, right? 2 minutes in the car, big wide open arms, right? So it's the same idea here, right? Your body language, like I could tell when folks were doing this or this, like, okay, I need to bring you back in to the conversation, right? So people will see that. The people who are interviewing you will see, right? So it depends, like, are you leaning in a little bit because that's kind of showing interest, or are you just like, oh, I don't want to be here and I don't want to, you know, you can tell, right, when somebody's resisting information. Also, when you're talking, for example, for networking opportunities, if I were to walk into a meet and greet, and I'm fast forwarding here, because we're going to talk about it again later. If I see somebody and I'm talking to you and there's a bunch of other people here, and I'm just doing this, like square in front of her, people are not going to want to interrupt. They're going to feel uncomfortable to interrupt, right? I don't want to miss out on meeting incredible people. So when you're talking, be more at a V, right? Because then people are going to be able to join the conversation. The more people you know, the more opportunities there are, right? So keep that in mind. So, okay. Body language. They have done some studies where they show that if you mirror somebody's body language, that they're going to be more, there's going to be a higher likelihood that they're going to like you. So if we were talking and then I start tilting my head the same way you are, you're going to think, oh my gosh, I like her, right?
So sweet.
And if I'm talking to you and you're speaking at a faster cadence, right, and I'm matching your speed, they're going to think, oh my gosh, I like this person. There really is, you know.
We're narcissistic in that, that's what you're saying.
I'm saying whatever is going to give you an advantage when it comes to relating with people. You have to understand human dynamics and how people, you know, connect, right? If I imagine somebody from the South who talks like this, meeting a New Yorker who's really fast-paced when they're speaking, and come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Do you think that they're really going to get along? Somebody's going to have to speed up versus the other person's going to have to slow down so that they could be on the same page. Right? So the way you hold your body, maybe like if I'm sitting and I see the way that you have your feet, right? Or you're tapping, I can start doing that and you may think, oh yeah, we're on pace here. Right?
Same beat to the same drum.
Yeah. So maybe you nod a little bit and I start nodding too and we both start nodding together, right? Okay, so now we get along. Or a higher likelihood that we do. But inherently, innately, they will see who we are, right? They will see our core values and they will see what we bring to the table and how we can help their organization succeed even more, right? And you do that by presenting yourself in such a way that they would be able to see that, okay? Let's see. Interview tips: seek to understand what the organization is about or what a research team is doing, right? So ask questions. Ask questions that are meaningful where it's not a rhetorical question. So go beyond the question where their answer goes deeper, right? It goes to the purpose and to the core of why they're doing what they're doing. So ask and listen for the answers, because when you are circling back and talking about yourself, again, you can pick up on those keywords and utilize those same keywords and buzzwords when you're talking about yourself and the work that you've done, right? And so then they can see that you can add value to their team, okay? You're going to need some hard skills, obviously, right? But I think before, you need the hard skills on paper when you're submitting your resume, and then when you're in front of them, that's going to be the soft skills part. Am I going to want to work with this person? Is this person going to get along with such and such person in the other team, right? Or does this look like a person who's going to have a difficult time because they have, like a not so good personality, right? Are they a team player? Are they a thinker? Can they work in a team environment when it's needed, and can they work independently when it's needed, right? Those are the different things that employers are looking for. Can I count on this person to show up when they're needed to show up, right? Not at, if they're supposed to be here at 7:30, they don't show up at 7:35 and go to the kitchen and get some water and then go, say hello to everybody and walk back to their desk at 7:45. It's, are they there, ready to work at 7:30, right? Okay, so we're going to skip the interview. So here, the next few things are common interview questions. I pulled these from Monster, so they have top 10, most common questions and answers. They have a list of 100. You can go on Career Builder, they're going to have more lists, right? But at the core of it, what they are always looking at is how is this person going to fit with the team, and how can they advance the goals of this organization. So the way that you're presenting yourself, is what's going to count. What are your weaknesses? And again, I think in the interest of time, do you mind if, we're going to send these out to you, okay? But what are your weaknesses? Why should we hire you? Why do you want to work here? What are your goals? Why did you leave, or why are you leaving your job? When were you most satisfied in your job? What can you do for us that other candidates can't? What are 3 positive things your last boss would say about you? What salary are you seeking? This is probably the most important part, so I'm going to take a beat here. This answer is from Monster. My answer is always, whoever says the first number loses. Okay? So whatever number they say, if they say, what salary range are you looking for? Your answer should be, given somebody with my experience, what is the typical salary range for somebody with my qualifications for this job, right? When they give you an answer, that's a really great, whatever it is. The next question is automatically, that's a great offer, but is there any flexibility in that? So you can negotiate up. But always your next question, whatever that number is. Even if you're going, woo, because the answer that they could say is no, or, yeah, okay, we can bump it up somehow, right? But negotiate for yourselves, right? Don't undercut yourself. All right. You agree?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. I had a friend who just interviewed with the Maritime Academy up north in Vehicle, and he was offered $50,000. That's what that was advertised, and he said, "I'll do it for 55." So he actually got 55.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's he gave himself a 10% raise.
Yeah, he could have probably gone further up. I told him because they came back with saying, "Yeah, that's totally fine." So they were
Yeah,
probably
so you go with the number that you give, and then you say, that's a good offer, but is there any flexibility in that? And then see what they say.
Yeah.
Because it could be a number that's higher than what you want. Or if they say no, and that's the cap, you've tried.
And then
Right.
academia, today I interviewed with someone and they have a salary range that's already set. And that's all they
so
can
that's
do.
the cap. So
you
your
have the
goal
highs
is to
and
get to
low.
the top.
So you want to get to
Number.
the top. So it depends.
But you just have to justify why they should give you the higher rate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. In an interview, I am of the belief that you are not just being interviewed and being asked. You also need to know if it's a good place to be, right? So some of the questions that I have are, what qualities do your most successful employees have? Because the follow-up question to that, or the follow-up thing to that is, what I have found, I'm glad you said that, because what I have found is when I did this, it brought out this quality that you're looking for. And when I did this experience, this is the quality that meets that. Do you see what I mean? It's an opportunity for you to brag. An interview is where you toot your own horn, because guess what? Nobody else is going to do it for you. This is not the time to be humble. This is the time where you list all of your accomplishments and all of your traits and skills that are going to land you that opportunity, okay? Keep that in mind. Not the time to be humble, okay? But you can still do it with humility of, just matter of fact. You're not being conceited, right? About sharing. Yes. Just being confident. Okay. What makes the company and your team unique is to find out what kind of dynamic they have there, right? What challenges have you faced with this position in the past? If they say, oh, this person never showed up for work. And then you can say, okay, I'm dependable and, I'm trustworthy, I show up, I dress up, I show up when I'm needed. And I'm also, providing the workload is okay, I'm also open to taking on more responsibilities, right? This one I like a lot. Given the chance, what would you expect me to accomplish in the first 3 months, 6 months, or a year, right? It gives you those goalposts, and when you say, given the chance, or given the opportunity of being hired on, what would you expect me to accomplish within this time frame? It automatically puts the interviewer as picturing you in that job already. So it's kind of like a mind trick, because they're already picturing you in that role. Get it? Okay. And then, you identify the benchmarks. Like, where the roadmap is. Like, where do I need to be? How do I need to perform so that I know I'm doing well, right? Okay, and then the other one, what opportunities for growth does the company offer, either in responsibility or in pay, right? So you can see what chances you have of either, number one, getting a better title, if the title is not available, but at least expanding your responsibilities with hopefully a higher compensation, which is what you're going to advocate for, okay? Does that all make sense? So far? Okay, we'll send this out so that you have it. But I would suggest that you look at the other lists, because there are plenty of lists for interview questions. Okay. All right, networking, meet and greets. It's the same things that we talked about, but what I have found, and I attend probably at least 2 meet and greets each week, where I'm there with people I've never met in an industry that I'm not accustomed to, right? So a couple weeks ago, I went to LA Metros, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. So it's all the rail, the trains, and all that stuff for LA County. And I was there with a group of maybe 300, maybe 400, primarily engineers, architects, builders, construction people, highway people, train people. So not my industry, right? But it is yours. So what am I advocating for? I'm always looking at if I'm asking this new person that I'm meeting for the first time, what it is that they do, I'm instantly thinking of how can I connect them? How can I add value to what they're doing? Because people will work with people that they like. And people like talking about themselves. And people who are asked about themselves and then given an opportunity to, like, if you're giving me an opportunity to add value to my company, I'm going to say I want to keep in contact with that person, right? And I'm always thinking of ways to connect, right? Connect them with other people, so then that way it's meaningful. It's not just, hi, you know, I want to get your business card, and then walk away, and then that's it, right? There has to be a reason for a follow-up, like a thank you or an email. And again, there are also many lists online of, you know, what types of questions you can ask when, you know, when you're invited to an event. You know, like for example, if there were a school event that you could volunteer at, right? And then you are exposed to professors, and there's a speaker, or there's a senator there, or whatever it may be, at church, at, you know, outside, right? If you pretend like you were the host of the party, how would that change how you talk to the people at that place, right? Like, picture yourself at a house party, and you're invited, and you are asking questions like, you know, oh, how are you affiliated with, you know, the host, or how do you know the host? Well, that's wonderful. And then you start asking questions as if you were one of the hosts. Like, how do you think that they would feel about you, right? They like you, and people work with people that they like. Do you agree?
Agreed. I have a friend who applied for a job, and they were at the same level. It was like a genetics lab. There were two competitors, and they kind of knew each other. And they were competing for the same job. One of them wrote the thank you note right away. The other one waited a day. They were on the same level, and later on they found out why one got hired over the other is because of the thank you note. When the company got the thank you note.
Right.
And so if you have an email or a contact, say thank you right away.
Right away. Yeah, via email is fine. And here's the thing, keep it formal. You know, when Gabby and I email each other, I think we always say, hi Gabby, or hi Rhonda, comma, enter.
XOXO.
Right? No, I mean, like, it's a formal letter, right? It's not hey, it's always hi, you know, hi Gabby, dear Rhonda, comma, like, we're friends. So, but we still professionally write with each other, write to each other in that way. And yes, and well, I think I say that.
I don't care. I say cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. But I mean, it could be sincerely or best regards or respectfully. You know, like, keep your formal communications with a professional network. Keep it professional, right? Keep it formal. Don't slip and be casual. Who's used to, like, being informal in the language that, you know, when you're communicating, right? You know? Especially with a professor, right? Keep it professional. There's a format. We can send that to you. Okay? All right. So when you're at an event, right, or anywhere, when you're meeting somebody new that you want to connect with, see if they're on LinkedIn and connect with them. Right? Ask to exchange business cards. And, you know, one of the things that we can, you know, that we're okay, we can sanction this, I think, is request to interview them. You know, just say, you know, I find it really interesting. I want to know more about the work that you're doing. Would you be open to have me interview you so I could share some of your insights to the rest of the FYP program? Right? It could be by phone, right? But it's another opportunity to connect with them and to see if they have job opportunities at that company, right? I mean, make sure you're safe, right? The two of you could pair up and go, right? But just so you have an excuse to be in front of that person again if you want a job from them, right? It's kind of like an exploratory interview, you're not gonna call it that, but just say, like, I really wanna know more about what you do and what's made you successful. Would you be open if a colleague and I wanted to speak with you and ask you about it some more? Right? All right. Networking and LinkedIn profile. Oh, we haven't pulled up. Who has a LinkedIn profile already? No? It's really super easy. Once you have, who has a resume? You have a resume? It's basically the same information. It's an abbreviated version of a resume, right? Enough to give a colleague a snapshot of what it is that we're doing. So, do you want to pull up your LinkedIn?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just don't show us your password. Okay, building your brand. On LinkedIn they have groups, different like discussion threads. They're kind of like on Facebook if you want to join a group, or on Twitter when you want to follow somebody. It's the same idea. They have groups, and they, you can just join the conversation in your area of study, right? So we're gonna pull up Gabby's profile, and then if we have, I don't think we have time, but I was gonna have, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, then you'll see my profile. It's pretty scant. It's not as fleshed out as my resume here, but it's got the same basic information, okay? I probably have over 500 connections there of meaningful connections, like, folks that I know I would want to continue the conversation with, right? Because it's okay to be selective, you don't have to connect with everybody, right? And then social media, I want to ask you guys a question. Who is very active on social media? Yeah. Okay. And your posts, just make sure that they represent you, where if a potential employer or somebody who's checking your background looks into your Facebook profile or your Twitter handle or your Snapchat, whatever, right? Just make sure it's information that you are okay with an employer seeing. Does that make sense? Keep that in mind. Like my social media is more for like family and friends and things like that, and so I have the customized feed where like my posts sometimes my acquaintances can see it, right? So I just block it. So make sure that you add those filters into the things that you're doing. Don't make everything public, for crying out loud. And know that it is there permanently. And actually, Denise was telling me about a horrible Instagram post that just, do you want to share that, Sarah? No. Yeah, it's just, it's just not something that should be out there, and it is harmful. And middle school. And so, yeah, and so younger adults, or even, in this case, not even teenagers, having Twitter accounts, it should be banned, or Instagram, because sometimes we don't have the self-awareness of how it's going to impact us long term, because all the stuff that you post, it's there for a lifetime. Right? It's not retractable. Yeah. Well, hey, you found me.
Yeah, we're connected.
Yeah. Okay, where's yours? So mine's like really simple.
Yeah, so it has her title, picture, title, and then where you're about, where you live, kind of thing, and then it has like a little resume.
Oh, and then you can have my folks, they recommend me. It's awesome. I just see and I just write thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, so you can recommend
right.
people.
So you can recommend people.
So if I look for myself, when I see when I go home, it wants me to edit my profile, so it doesn't show how you look at it when you see it, right? or is this my profile? But it wants me to edit stuff.
Oh, okay.
So,
You're an all-star profile.
so I have my title, like where I work for, and I have, the
I thought I
MS.
corrected it to his STEM.
What?
HIS STEM instead of HSI.
Oh, never mind. I don't know what I was thinking at the time.
No, it autocorrects.
Oh, so then you can put icons of the different companies that you work for. Like I do some stuff with Boys and Girls Club, so it has a little icon for them. And like I work for Fish and Wildlife. I went to school here and worked there, so it's really nice. And you have a little spiel about what you did, and you can always put the little icons in there. And then I've actually can see who's viewed my profile, and I've had recruiters that have been recently on there, which was really interesting.
Oh, and randomly recruiters ask me to connect with them on LinkedIn. Recruiters I've never met, but be mindful, probably because I have 500 plus connections, they probably want to data mine my page or my connections. So just kind of be mindful of that as you continue on your journey. Just make sure you're connecting with people that you've already met that, And don't just randomly ask to connect with people because that's weird. Right?
Yeah. I have groups too that I belong to. So I belong to Ecology and Evolutionary Biology. They have 17,000 members.
That's what I was talking about.
I belong to NOAA. I belong to Science Career, STEM Educators and Researchers, the Ecological Society of America, the Art Project for Statistical Computing, and then the UCSB alumni. You have to request to be part of those groups, but they have some really cool stuff that they post, and it's been really helpful. So you can.
And they have groups for young professionals or students also within these groups.
So
look
we
for
can
those.
sit down and.
And I like LinkedIn because it's professional. You put in your resume or your CV. It's the same, you're plugging in obviously the information, but it keeps you connected to your professional network so that you do not have to connect with them on your social media.
And then I follow people for leadership and management, big ideas and innovation, professional women, education, and these are just the companies I've been involved with. So it's kind of cool for people to see what you've been up to, and you can endorse people. I can say, yay, well done. I only have 162 connections.
That's a plus. So
It's amazing about that.
no, because again, like I said, I go to at least 2 networking events, and I have. Oh, it's not. I don't have my rolly bag here,
I'm
but I
not-
literally have like 2 handfuls like this, and they're in Ziploc bags. It's kind of. But I have so many business cards whom I have yet to connect on LinkedIn with, right, and follow up with and do all of that. So, but these are all building blocks. You're creating. You get to start fresh at this stage, right? Have you guys heard me say the saying? You become the average of the 5 people who spend most amount of time together. So you do. Let's take a look at the people that you are closest to, because there's this saying that if you play tennis, right? If you are playing against somebody who is not as good as you, do you think you're going to improve, or do you think you're going to just stay at the same level, right? If you play with somebody who is more advanced of a tennis player than you, the likelihood is you're going to want to keep up, right? You're going to want to elevate your skills so that you could win, right? So that you could compete. It's the same thing. So we have to be, so let's do this quick exercise, right? We're going to play circles. Write down, take the next 15, 20 seconds to write down the people that you spend the most amount of time with. 5 people. And you could do a circle for friends, and then you could do a circle for family, or colleagues. You need to borrow a pen? Huh? Oh, you do? Okay. You know what? Before we do that, let's take a group shot.
Oh, group shot.
Okay, yeah, can we do a group shot? Okay.
Yeah.
Should we go outside? and
Well,
then
I don't
come
know. I
back?
was gonna take a headshot for
Okay. Let's just walk outside and then Deb can do her thing, and we'll come back.